27M, 25F, my girlfriend came home from work and found a lighter in the bathroom that isn't hers or mine. And thinks I had someone over. My girlfriend and I have been together for about over a year, and she's never accused me of anything like this before. Yesterday I took her to work at 4 p.m. After I got home, I pretty much spent the entire evening on my PC. The only other things I did were trim and line up my beard in the bathroom and take the dog for about a 15-minute walk. At 10 p.m. I went to pick her up from work. When we got home, she went into the bathroom and came back holding an orange lighter. She asked, "Whose lighter is this?" I honestly had no idea. At first I thought maybe it was mine and had fallen out of the bathroom cabinet where I keep my clippers and grooming stuff, but she said she had never seen that lighter before and that it definitely wasn't hers. From that point on, she became convinced I had someone over while she was at work. I kept telling her I didn't. I swear on everything that nobody came over, and I genuinely do not know where the lighter came from. What makes this even stranger is that I was in that same bathroom a few hours earlier trimming my beard, and I never noticed a lighter sitting by the sink. If it had been there, I feel like I would have seen it. She spent hours upset, crying, and asking who I had over. She even left for about 45 minutes before coming back. We went to bed, and when we woke up the next morning she was still just as upset and still doesn't believe me. I've tried explaining everything and answering every question honestly, but nothing seems to help. She's never accused me of cheating or having someone over before, which is why this has completely caught me off guard. Has anyone dealt with something similar? How would you handle the situation if you were in my shoes? TLDR, my girlfriend found an orange lighter in our bathroom that neither of us recognizes. She believes it proves I had someone over while she was at work, but I truly didn't and have no idea where the lighter came from. She doesn't believe me and I don't know what else to do. Comments.
One time I was on vacation with my spouse and couldn't find my hairbrush. We were at a B&B. There was a mystery hairbrush in our room. It was the right color, purple, and the hairs in it looked like my hair, quite long and brown. But I was 100% adamant it was not my hairbrush and I had never seen that brush in my life, and also mine was missing. Eventually my spouse convinced me that all the evidence suggested it was my hairbrush, even if my brain was having a moment. Which is to say, brains are weird. If you guys routinely own lighters and carry them around in pockets, chances are it's one of yours you just forgot about. I hope she can recognize this and chill. Sounds like you experienced JMAVU. Your brain can somehow forget things and make something feel foreign to you. I did this with a pair of underwear on a trip. I found it on the floor in the hallway and was super confused cause it looked too big to be mine, and asked the other woman on the trip, but it wasn't hers. Turns out it fell out of my towel on my way back to my room after a shower. Another victim of the BNE, but only leave small items to sow seeds of doubt and disrupt relationships. Bandit. Lucky it was a lighter this time and not socks or underwear. Been there. My ex once found a sock that wasn't hers. Eventually she figured out her gym friend was the owner. Pretty tough to prove you didn't do something. I found a bra in my house once when I lived alone. To this day I have no clue where it came from, but very glad I didn't have a soda to have to explain to at the time. When I lived alone in apartments, I used to use the on-site laundry area. I ended up with some women's underwear in my clothes once when I brought it home and couldn't figure it out. I figured it must have been in the washer or dryer when I threw my clothes in, missed by the owner when they grabbed their stuff. However, there was no way as a 24-years-old dude I was gone start wandering around with some woman's panties trying to return them, so I just threw them away. Update. She broke up with me, kicked me out the apartment. She's 100% convinced I cheated on her and had someone over. I was literally playing Forza Horizon 6 on Steam the entire time.
I have to drop off and pick up my girlfriend to work and I'm getting tired. My 23M girlfriend, 23F, does not know how to drive. She works at the same place that her dad works, so they would just carpool together. Well, things changed and her dad is no longer going to work there. My girlfriend asked me if I can drop her off at work at 6:30 a.m. and pick her up at 3 p.m. for 5 days a week. The workplace is 10 miles away from her home. I just graduated college last month, so I don't have a full-time job yet. I only work Friday through Sunday at a side job that Eve been doing since school. So I really have no excuse not to do it, but the bigger picture I'm concerned with is her having to depend on driving everywhere. Every time I try to bring up learning how to drive and how I won't always be there, she gets angry and says that I shouldn't be complaining. Unfortunately, you need to drive to get around where I'm from, which is why I'm urging her to drive. How do I bring the situation up again to reason with her? TLDR, my girlfriend can't drive and needs rides to and from work daily, getting tired. How do I bring it up to her with reasoning? Comments.
I was the sole driver in my relationship for 8.5 years. I didn't mind it really, but eventually it got exhausting, especially on long trips. I tried and tried to push him to get his license, but it never seemed to happen. We were engaged and I ended up giving an ultimatum. I will not marry unless he has his license. That worked. He got his license, and now we've been together for 15 years. He has told me time and time again how grateful he is I pushed him and how he regrets waiting so long. Sometimes you just gotta put your foot down. You're lucky that worked. I told my ex I had 2 deal breakers he needed to address before I would ever consider marriage. He fixed one right away, but refused to tackle the driving for 15 years, which is why he is an ex. She's an adult. Gotta learn. Take her to a parking lot and support her through the licensing process. Hate to say it, but not being able to drive would probably be a deal breaker for me. Just not feasible to be someone's full-time chauffeur. Alternatively, have her ask coworkers if any live close to you all and can scoop her. And I think it's her reaction to it, too. Being nervous but willing to learn to drive, knowing that Opie is looking for a job, and so she's super grateful, acknowledging that this isn't a permanent solution. That's a lot different than her suggesting that Opie not complain. The entitlement to his time and vehicle, and the way it's likely taking away from job hunting, is really off-putting. Yeah, if she doesn't want to or can't drive, the onus is on her to figure out transportation. Asking for a ride occasionally is fine, but regularly? She's got to sort something out. And this is coming from someone who cannot drive. I agree. She's responsible for her own transportation. Boyfriend could be a backup. Instead of telling her she needs to learn how to drive, you need to set a boundary for yourself. Whether she learns how to drive or not is up to her. Whether you drive her to work every day is up to you. Because she's your girlfriend and I assume you care about her, I would give her some time to figure out another solution. But either way, don't make it a big deal, just lay it out. In the future, I won't be able to drop you off or pick you up from work anymore. I know that's inconvenient, and you might need some time to make other arrangements, so I'm willing to stick to our current plan until date. I'm also more than willing to help you learn how to drive, if that's what you want to do. If she calls you selfish, or a bad boyfriend, or gets angry, don't argue. Just say, I'm sorry you feel that way. Alternatively, I'm sorry you feel that way, but I won't be disrespected, so I'm ending the conversation here. Then leave. Alternatively, I'm sorry you feel that way, but I won't be disrespected like that, and unless you rethink your approach, I will just end our arrangement right now. Depending on how she responds.
I, 35F, am overwhelmed by my husband's, 35M, expectations. We have been married for 6 years and have moved across the country twice in this time for his career. I am a full-time stay-at-home mom to 2 toddlers. Over the past year, my husband has insisted that I need to get a job, even though we do not need the income. We max out retirement contributions each year, have investments, and maintain significant savings. After a lot of difficulty finding something that would work with his schedule and our children, I finally found a remote job with flexible hours. I currently work a consulting job about 15 hours per week. To make it work, I also hire a sitter for a small portion of that time, about 6 hours per week, though it is not nearly enough to fully cover my work hours. Even with this setup, I find it extremely stressful to work while caring for 2 toddlers. I am constantly interrupted, often having to stop what I'm doing dozens of times a day, which makes it very difficult to focus or complete tasks efficiently. Now he wants me to increase my hours to 20 per week. At the same time, he dismisses the work I'm already doing because I rely on a sitter. But he wants me to hire a sitter so I can reach 20 hours. I assume he would discount this increased effort as well. This leaves me feeling like no matter how much I do, it is never considered enough. I feel like I am constantly being told I am not trying hard enough or not working hard enough, even though I am doing everything I realistically can within the limits of childcare and our current setup. I would love a resolution. How can we make this work in a way that is realistic and fair for both of us? TLDR, I'm a stay-at-home mom of 2 toddlers working a remote job about 15 hours a week, but childcare makes it very difficult to focus. My husband, despite our strong financial situation, wants me to increase to 20 hours and dismisses the effort I'm already putting in. I feel overwhelmed and like my work is never considered enough. Comments.
The husband's logic doesn't really add up here. He tells you to hire a sitter so you can work more, but then uses the sitter as reason to dismiss the work? That's moving the goalposts, no matter how you look at it. Worth having a very direct conversation where you ask him to explain exactly what enough looks like to him, because from outside it seems like the target keeps changing. He's trying to get her to 40 hours eventually to get a better divorce settlement. Not a legal expert by any means, but I would also think having a documented expense for childcare that allows her to work would give the husband more leverage compared to a stay-at-home mom with no income. Husband logic certainly adds up. He is likely playing a long game to minimize expenses down the road. Considering that his job completely allows her to be a som, it is probably debt or divorce. This was my first thought. I don't know how it is wherever OP is from, but at least it was in Canada, that if you were a som they had to maintain that until kids were in school full-time. I think he's setting himself up BC, otherwise this makes zero sense. Most people rely on someone to watch their children while they work, including him. Tell him to take the kids to work one day. See how it works out for him. Oh, I've put him in charge of the kids when he works from home. Of course, it's completely different for him, and I have it way easier. Just ask him. He doesn't seem to care too much for you. I would get a sitter and or daycare and start working more. Putting your money away. He doesn't sound like someone I'd be comfortable relying on. How has your marriage been going? Is it possible that he could want you working, so that if there were a divorce, he would not have to pay alimony? Sorry for such a negative comment, but just the thought that came to mind. He will still have to pay alimony, child support, a huge percentage of his retirement, and split our assets. His reasoning was he wanted more money. He is someone who doesn't think you can ever have enough. He can either have enough with a SHW who cares for the children in house, or he can pay alimony, child support, a huge percentage of his retirement, split your assets, and be solely responsible for childcare 50% of the time.
Our neighbors have marital problems and now we're somehow involuntarily involved. Our neighbors, 42F/44M, have 2 kids, M10/M6. Me and my wife, W30/W35, moved in a few years ago and also have 2 kids, M6/M4. Since we have moved in, our kids have been friends. Me and my wife have been incredibly happy that our sons have friends so close by. It gives them a lot of independence. They meet without us having to be too involved in setting up play dates. They spend a lot of time together and get to kind of regulate themselves, setting up rules, dealing with injustices and so on, something 6-year-olds in our area seldom get to do, because parents tend to hover. We have been friendly with the parents, but we talk more about the kids, if it's okay that they'll be over, that we're cooking, if they can eat with us and so on. Last year we found out that the husband is having an affair with a friend. We didn't really know if we should do something about it. We don't know our neighbors too well and didn't want to risk our kids' friendship, so we kept it to ourselves. I've had a bad feeling about the husband since we met him. I don't know how to describe it, but my instinct was to stay away from him. He has been flirty with my wife, made weird comments about the kids, talks in a subtle way about his wife and kids, but up front he has this weird fake niceness that people obviously buy because he is very well liked. He is smart and subtle, and I have noticed that neighbors who are not close to the wife dislike her a lot, which has always struck me as odd. They say stuff like she has him on a tight leash or that she is uptight and so on. When asked why they say that, they always have stories about how difficult it is for her husband, so I think he tells these stories to appear like a victim and great dad. I dislike that a lot about him. He also sometimes talks bad about his kids, which is even worse. He humiliates them in front of people in a way that is obviously horrible for the kids, but people perceive that as him being on top of things. I really don't know if what I'm describing makes sense. For an outsider it would seem like regular parenting, but we know the kids very well and we also know what kind of values the parents have and what is seen as good and bad at their place, but very often when they show that around other people they get reprimanded on a very personal level, to make it seem like it's an inferior quality and part of the kid's personality. So anyways, my wife was at a party a few months ago where she didn't know many people, so she got to talking with him. They talked about the kids and their spouses, and every time he'd try to make them look bad my wife would interject. Especially regarding the kids, because they are over a lot and she really can't stand when people talk bad about their children, but it was still a nice chat. There was some flirting at the beginning, which is not something we care about in our relationship. Every time he would get too forward she'd reject him. There was a point where she went to the bathroom and he followed her. She froze, because she did not feel like he would let her get out of the situation safely. She was mad that he misjudged him, but a mutual friend saw them, grabbed her and got her out. He continued to be very pushy throughout the night. She rejected him often, tried different things to get away from him, but he didn't accept that. So she got to a point where she told him to get away from her, that she knew about the affair and that even if she did find him attractive, which she didn't, she wasn't going to be the third option for anyone. He got scared and backed off. The next day we talked a lot about the night. I was happy that she got away unharmed and pretty angry that he obviously didn't respect her as a person or her boundaries. Anyways, since that night his wife has been extremely mad at us. She has avoided all contact. The first few weeks the kids weren't allowed to come over. Now that they do come over, she doesn't directly talk to us, doesn't say hello. Every interaction she can't get out of is very tense and uncomfortable. It's exhausting. I'm pretty sure he spun the story in a way that would again make him look like a victim. We don't really know what to do. She's not going to believe her neighbor over her husband, especially since that would jeopardize her comfortable life, but it's exhausting. I think there is no way to win in situations like these, because I see him as somewhat ruthless. Does anyone have some kind of advice? As I said, we're not friends, but it would be nice to have a neighbor that's not constantly pissed when she hears or sees us. TBH, I wouldn't even care, because their marriage is obviously a mess. As I said, my instinct was always to stay away from him, which would still be what I'd do if we were not neighbors and if our kids weren't friends. TLDR, our neighbor tried it on with my wife, got rejected, and now his wife is mad at both of us. Edit, so just to clarify, since this incident we've not let our kids go over there. Because of him of course, but also because she has been so mad that I wouldn't feel comfortable with the kids over there. Still, we're happy when their kids come over. They're great kids and feel comfortable around us. I don't care if their parents use us as cheap babysitters, within reason, and they are going to go through a lot when this gets out anyways. I don't want to add to that. Comments.
I bet a piece of her senses the truth, and a lot of her behavior is embarrassment, not anger. You're acting like you have no agency here and that it's completely useless to speak to the wife at all. Why not broach the subject of why she's so upset? You could tactfully ask her what is going on, why she's so tense, etc. If it were me, I would probably use that same conversation as an opener to let her know that her husband made your wife wildly uncomfortable at a party. Her husband was so out of line that another person noticed and intervened, and you're just saying nothing. I don't understand this weird eggshell dance thing you're doing. The neighbor wife knows she's upset. You know she's upset. Why not acknowledge that? This neighbor is pissed at you when you're well within your rights to be pissed at them. Who cares if she believes you or not? You should say something to her. You should say something to both of them. TBH, it feels like we don't really have a chance. As the other commenter said, we're two women, and that does change the dynamic. We're not taken seriously in a lot of situations. People either pretend like we're college roommates, or they fetishize us. It often feels like people like our neighbor are waiting for us to grow out of it, and will ultimately end up with a man anyway, and since we're close by, one of us is inevitably ending up with him. That's also why he doesn't take no for an answer. For him it's a not yet, because we haven't grown up enough to realize that what we really need is a man. Also, it feels like we're always 2 steps behind. I'm very sure he has laid the groundwork to cover up for everything we could say to her, including some degenerative hints about how my wife might miss being with a man or something like that. I don't think we have a chance of getting through to her, and it's only going to be even messier. I feel like I definitely misunderstood the point of this post. I don't think you need to save the wife from her marriage at all. That is not your job, not your responsibility, and as another commenter rightly pointed out, might be dangerous as a gay couple. The wife could very well be happy with whatever the hell is going on over there. I thought you were asking how to get past this frosty relationship with your neighbor. My answer to that question would be to address the elephant in the room. Hey neighbor, we couldn't help noticing that you're upset. Did we do something to offend you? See what she says. Clear the air, move on for your son's sake. But honestly, stay far away from the husband, because he sounds legitimately unsafe. Honestly, writing this, I thought there might be something we could do, but it's starting to feel pointless. Safety is an issue, but this is also just such a mess that getting involved feels like it will just make everything worse, and will go from avoidance to open animosity. You're acting like this is a he said/she said situation. You said another neighbor noticed and intervened. Is that neighbor willing to confirm what they saw? Nope, it was a guy who was friends with him. As I said, there was some flirting, and after the incident my wife was kinda managing him, like women sometimes do to avoid getting into a dangerous situation. So she rejected him multiple times but tried to not make him angry. That's why our hook point bringing up the affair seemed like a good option, because at that moment his focus shifted from her as a prize to her as a potential problem. Men tend to not realize what is happening and assume everything is fine just because there is no open hostility, so even if she'd asked people that were there, I doubt a lot would have even realized that she was uncomfortable and potentially even in a dangerous situation. This is out of your hands already. He is almost certainly being dishonest with anyone and everyone whenever it suits his interests. The wife is going to be difficult, if not impossible, to reason with as long as he is controlling the narrative and you can't provide any tangible hard evidence. Even if you could, it isn't inconceivable that she wouldn't accept it. It's unfortunate that the kids from both families are going to lose out due to horrible bullshit way outside their control. Given how you describe this guy and how he operates, I would never let my kids be around him ever again. Considering the way he treats others, including his own wife and children, it may be best to completely disconnect from them entirely rather than leave any means for him to attempt malicious action against your family. It will be hard to explain the drastic change to your kids, but that is far better than the potential harm he could do. We haven't let our kids go over since. Not only because of him, but also because she is so mad that we're not comfortable with them over there. Their kids have been over a lot, though. They feel very welcome and loved here. After we were away for a few days, they came over straight away and hugged us and told us how much they missed us. We'd like to stay a safe place for them. They have told us stuff that's happening at school, things that were weird or made them feel uncomfortable that they have not told their parents, and they know that they are still welcome even if they misbehave. I know you already know this, OP, but your status as a lesbian couple is going to come into play here. This man doesn't respect women. He especially doesn't respect your wife or your relationship. I can guarantee he wouldn't so openly and brazenly flirt with a male neighbor's wife in public. I'm really sorry all of the kids are caught up in this man's behavior. But you shouldn't sacrifice yourselves at the altar of neighborly peace if it means being degraded and disrespected by this POS. And although his wife is undoubtedly the primary victim of his behavior, it's also not your job to save her. She's chosen her place as his spouse and will cling to that proximity to power despite her best interests until he crosses some line for her that causes her to walk away. It's not your job to intervene, interfere, or save anyone from this man. It's your job to protect yourselves, your marriage, and your kids. By all means, keep your door open to their children. As they grow older, they will need it. But I would recommend using the gray rock method with the parents and let the chips fall where they may. Not your circus. That's what I have been wondering. I am very well aware of what my wife is capable of, as she knows my worst qualities. I cannot imagine that his wife has been married for over a decade and is unaware of his tendencies. What has also been going through my mind since we found out about the affair is how messed up kids in our childhood were when it came out that their father was cheating. There was a difference between kids whose parents just got divorced and those where one parent cheated. Especially a few boys I was friends with got in a lot of trouble afterwards. They broke off contact to their dads, got into fights, and got a lot worse in school. I can't get over how callous he is with his kids' well-being.
How do I navigate being angry with my husband over something he can't change? I, F28, have been with my husband, M31, for 7 years and married for 3 years. We have 2 wonderful kids. This weekend our eldest had a bad accident that ended with them in A&E. It was nobody's fault, just an unfortunate accident. My husband was made aware when it happened, and I called him throughout to give him updates and ask him to come be with us for support. He chose to stay at work for 2 hours longer, stating he wasn't needed and that I had my brother there for support, so there was nothing he could have done. I know I was fine handling it alone, and he's right that there's nothing he could have physically done, but emotionally I really could have used his support. Our kid was asking for him until they fell asleep. I just feel so let down. He works hard, long hours, and he's not home much as he's working hard for our family, so I'm used to doing the load alone, and I'm fine with that. It's just in this emergency I really needed him there, and it's made me so angry, and it's not like he can go back in time, so I know I need to move past it, but how do I do that? DR emergency at hospital, husband choose to stay at work when I needed support, how do I move past it? Comments.
People in this thread talking about farmers like they're in the middle of heart surgery and couldn't leave their job to see their kid in a medical emergency are blowing my mind. My dad was a dairy farmer, glued to that dairy shed twice a day for 45 years, plus all of the other work. And there is no way on God's green earth he would have left my mother at emergency on her own with us kids without trying to move heaven and earth to be there. He would call in favors from neighbors, paid cash to any local lads who could get there, called family, done whatever he could. And if he couldn't get anyone, he would have finished up as quickly as possible, left any non-essential tasks for the next day, basically done whatever he possibly could, and then have done the hour's drive to get to the hospital to be there to support his family. Even if it meant he was arriving as things at the hospital were finishing up and sorted out, he would be there because being a husband, partner, and dad means showing up and being there for your family when you're needed. Finishing up spreading seed or baling hay, and not even trying to get there? I'd be disappointed and angry as well, OP. Take some time to gather your thoughts. Have an honest conversation about what this experience has revealed to you about what is important and that you needed to be able to rely on him, not your brother. This is probably a key inflection point in your relationship, and he should see that. The guy got away after 2 hours during haymaking. I don't think that is too bad. And you know what it's like in a rural area. Even calling in people for favors takes a bit of time. What do you mean in your title? How do I navigate being angry with my husband over something he can't change? The accident was an accident, but it sounds like you are upset that your husband intentionally chose not to come to the hospital. You're allowed to be upset by that. You're allowed to be upset at your husband choosing work over family, especially in medical emergencies. You know you're not obligated to do this, right? Lots of partners lose their families because they continue to choose work over their family. Unless your husband is an airplane pilot, an EMT, on an oil rig, etc., and physically cannot leave, then I'd explore your situation more. Your husband made a choice you don't agree with. You don't need to forgive it. You can have a conversation with him about changing how he prioritizes his life. Do you have the financial option for him to work less? Is there some other thing going on here you're not mentioning? This isn't something I'd suggest moving past. This sounds like a misalignment in some pretty major values, especially when it impacts your children. He's a farmer, so this time of the year, he's making hay. Unfortunately, the hours are just part of the job, but him doing the hours allows me to stay home with the kids and be more present with them, so I only work 16 hours a week, so I'm not upset about him not being about it. It's just this particular instance he has apologized, and I don't think he'd do it again. It's just I can't seem to get past this one. This makes things a bit trickier, because farmers have a lot of work that's time-sensitive, and even the work that's not generally takes priority over anything that's not immediately life-threatening. And sadly, that's just kinda how life is for most farmers. I don't have much wisdom for you, but I am sorry you're in this situation.
My 28M, GF, 29F insists on opening a bookstore. I don't think I can be part of that. As the title says, I, 28M, and my girlfriend, 29F, of 4 years. She has had an odd professional history and has a small career that has left her dissatisfied. She'll talk at length about needing something else for her mental health, and at least abstractly, I want that for her too, of course. The problem is, she seems singularly obsessed with owning a bookstore, which I just can't see as a thing I can just support, for a couple of reasons. First is that I don't believe an independent bookstore is going to be sustainable, that books have notoriously bad margins, and what money there was in the concept Amazon neatly took around the time we were born, aren't most small bookstores like that owned by hobbyists wealthy off of other ventures. Second is that she cut hard into time we had together once before through professional decisions, and I felt hurt by that, and only recently did things get back to having the good time together. There's only so much I can say here, but I won't deny that going back to that would make me feel betrayed. Third is that, after expressing the second to her, she angrily insisted that I would be involved too, which I do not want. I am someone who treasures work-life balance and has a particular dislike of stores and being in them. I cannot see that being healthy or happy for me. Fourth, and to the point, we talk at length about wanting nice night events, travel, and home ownership in our life. All this would do is make all of that harder. I should mention a few other points as well. She was considering a different idea, until she sprung this on me earlier tonight. I liked the other idea better because I believed it was more viable. I feel like I can't bring it up to her though, because I helped come up with that one, and it'll be an accusation of, you only want me to do your ideas. That's frustrating because if I thought her idea was a good plan, then we wouldn't even be having this conversation. She has no experience in management or other ventures, which I suspect will make getting a loan even more of an uphill battle. TLDR, girlfriend wants to do a risky business venture and expects me to be in on it in addition to my own career. I'm having doubts about whether I can. Comments.
Bookstore owner here. I co-own a small new and used bookstore and can confirm this is just not viable. Myself and my co-owner both have full-time jobs, and the store is a labor of love and community space. While we've managed to break even in our 3rd year, neither of us imagine ever taking a salary from it. Honestly, I appreciate your efforts. I'm hoping the rumors about gens and alphas trying to disconnect from the internet are true, and we can get a 3rd space back. I think bookstores are a great piece of a community. There are a lot of 3rd spaces available. Libraries, parks, community events. I'm part of an organization that tries to get people out for stuff all the time. People don't want to leave their house. I supply a local small bookstore. You won't make money on books, you make money on the bookish things and events. Reminds me of that episode of King of the Hill when Peggy bought a bookstore, and it was so bad that she had to use the store to sell guns on the side to make it sustainable. That was a thought I had, funny enough. A romance bookstore opened in my city, and they were so successful they had to move locations within the 1st year. That being said, it was owned by 2 sisters, and they put so much effort into the community, monthly book clubs, bring in authors to sign local stock, attend conferences, etc. They have staff to run the store on the day-to-day and can focus on the business side of things. The 1st year was a labor of love, and now it's evened out to a more normal job. It is absolutely a risk, and it paid off for them. Their bookstore feels like it's maybe 200 square feet, so tiny, but they regularly get around the block lineups for big releases or special events. Bookstores can be successful, but I do think it's a risk, and you need to know your market. I was going to say the romance genre is having a comeback right now, and some bookstores have been successful, but it's really got to speak to the romance readers. I don't see it working outside of that subfield. Romance readers are dedicated once they find books and stores they like. Yeah, you guys just aren't compatible. It's okay. No need to force it. You're going to be miserable owning a bookstore, and she's not going to stop holding it over your head if she doesn't get a bookstore. Just move on from this. Yeah, this is a tough spot to be in. Bookstore dream is pretty common, but margins really are brutal, and she wants you involved when you already told her that would stress you out. The bigger issue, seems like you two want different things right now. She needs career fulfillment, and you're focused in maintaining what balance you already have. Neither is wrong, but timing might not work for relationship if she's determined to do this. Maybe suggest she could try working at bookstore first to see if she actually likes daily operations before jumping into ownership. That way she gets feel for it without huge financial commitment. She has, before we met. She said she liked it, but left because it didn't pay her enough to justify it. I would say most of my unease is that I highly doubt that owning a bookstore would pay any better. Edit. She also wants to co-own it with her sister, so even thinner on margins income-wise.
A fan is ruining my relationship. My BF, 22M, always has a fan on. I, 24M, used to be okay with the fan noise, as the fan was a moderate volume level. We have been together 3 years. At first, it was a normal size fan. About the size of a box fan, but more industrial, and a tad louder than standard box fan. It was apparent enough to hear, but not too loud so you could talk normal. About 6 months ago, he sent me a picture of this larger, more robust and powerful fan, 2-3x the size of the original, and I asked him to not get it because the fan he has now is sufficient and I do not want to be around something much louder. He got the fan anyway. It feels and sounds like I am trapped in a wind tunnel. I really wish I was joking and this fan noise did not bother me so much. But I can hardly think, have to raise my voice to have a conversation, and it disrupts my sleep. None of this bothers him, at all. He prefers it, and anytime I say something about how he didn't need to get the second fan, he uses both at the same time, he just kind of laughs and does nothing about it. If I come over to his apartment, I ask that he at least turns the bigger fan off during the day, and just use it at bedtime, which he did, after a lot of pushback. I don't know what to do. He won't get rid of the fan. And I'm worried he will only continue to upgrade them. TL, DRMEBF has an industrial fan that is so incredibly loud and must sleep with it on. I have asked him to please revert back to his already industrial fan that is smaller and not as loud, and he refuses. This fan genuinely bothers me as I cannot think or sleep well. It's so loud. Edit, I failed to mention. When we first started dating, I used to watch YouTube to fall asleep every night. Low volume, just enough to kinda hear the words. He would refuse to let me fall asleep to YouTube because of the noise, max 20 to 40 minutes vids. He had his first fan at that time, still loud, could barely hear my phone over the fan. Comments.
Stop going to his place. I'd probably stop dating someone who didn't consider my feelings at all. Okay, so this isn't about the fan, it's the fact that he hasn't been considering your feelings or how/why it bothers you. He laughs at you and does nothing. The right thing to do would be sitting down to talk to you, listen to you and offer compromise. He's not doing any of that. Sit down and have a think about when else he has treated you that way when you've brought something up to him. Usually, selfishness isn't just a one-time thing. It shows up in many other ways, perhaps other times when you have gone to him about other things that have been on your mind. He is inconsiderate. Bro bought a wind tunnel and thinks it's a personality trait. You deserve someone who can hear you without shouting over a jet engine. Wait, what? You can't hear me over this fan? You have to shout. Let me get an even louder 1 inch. Exactly what I said this morning, LOL. Yes, it goes deeper than the fan. He said something about this new fan that he acquired. I asked that he did not bring it BC the one he had was loud enough, and I already have had issues with it. So it really is just a lack of consideration. Is he hard of hearing? Why does he need such a loud fan? And why does he need it running constantly? I know they can help people sleep, but why would it need to be so loud for that? Also, if you explain how you feel and he minimizes or argues, then I don't think you should put up with it and you should leave. I think the OP's boyfriend is being a jerk about this, but as someone with ADHD, I love of wind tunnel level white noise like a powerful fan. It blocks out other noises that distract me, and it's like it's the perfect amount of sensory input that lets me focus on one train of thought and I can think clearly. Loud sounds in general I don't like, but a steady whooshing sound that obliterates other noise is the best. We had water damage in our house that needed big industrial fans and dehumidifiers running 24/7 to remediate, and it was the calmest, most productive week of my life. I don't inflict it on other people against their will, though.
Thanks for watching my video. Please like it and subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories.